Guys, it's Fabian. And today, this might be controversial, but nobody usually ever brings this up. Even as a believer of Christ, I came to the realization that the entirety of culture is sinful, and I'm not coming out just to the cultural side of my culture. In general, culture teaches sinful things, and it even makes the lifestyle of a Christian twink, think twice. Like, you can think about the music that culture brings off. Like, Hispanic culture, for example, has very lustful music that promotes sexual thoughts and um, sexual thinking. And at the same time, you have culture that also promotes dancing, that even shows the lower part as a twerking movement or a hip movement. It can promote temptations in the men. Now, I'm not saying that everybody's gonna get horny because of a person dance, but culture itself is promoted by men and women of the world that don't know God, and they only either pass down from their traditions of ancestors this dance, this form of behaving, in a world where they can most likely, you know, most likely attract those that are also of the same culture. And I came to the realization that when you're a believer of God, you are supposed to be focused on the things of heaven, not things in the world, right? Of course, Colossians. I forgot what verse that is, but it's in Colossians, and you come you come to think that whenever you want to be obedient to God, you want to, you know, build your spirit with the Word, the Bible, with by praying, by speaking to God, by meditating daily. And culture doesn't just devalue all of that. Culture brings in the attraction of what the world is doing, and so it makes you want to justify your cultural things. It makes you want to justify the things that you do that are of men and the tradition of women or the tradition of humans, in general. Like, including even the way they speak. The way they speak has nothing to do with anything, right? But if culture has a line of tradition and a line of followers, it's almost like as they pass down this to each generation will become more culturalized than more religionized. Oh, that's not a word, sorry. More religious. And if a person's trying to be truly close to God, they have to reject culture. If you're trying to not be tempted, you have to turn away from those lustful music that open doors to temptation. If you're trying to get close to God and living a holy life, you have to turn away from the music where it only promotes sexual thinking. And most of those artists are usually not in the best place they can be, of course. Music is fun to listen to, right? But secular music in the secular world is considered a worldwide impact, an enjoyable thing to hear. Any type of secular music and thinking for that matter. And so, like, when you turn away from the secular things of the world, you will see your spirit draws more closer to God, and it is more easier to focus on your relationship with God than to have all these distractions that culture brings, that includes trends, that includes now some trends can be bad, some trends are good, right? Like, for example, like the trend of ASMR, right? That's it's weird, but if it becomes culturalized, people will start not only favoritizing um, whatever impacted their life, whether it be God, whether it be some sort of religion, right? I'm a Christian. This is a perspective from a Christian. But if you're trying to prioritize God and culture at the same time, it's never gonna work. You're always gonna either find yourself. You can't be one foot in the world, one foot in God. And culture really teaches you to follow like the line of the world. Culture is essentially a line that follows the world and their tradition. And I know many parents, many kids of this generation will disagree with this because they grow up in their culture. They would say, well, this is just how I grew. This is what my culture teaches. This is how this is what we do. This is what our family does. There's nothing wrong with that. Sure. But if it promotes sin, now there's a problem. And the only way to really disregard that sin is by stop following that line of standard of the world. So when you see those memes that say you're a man of culture, they're saying you're a man of the world. Don't be a man of culture. Don't be a woman of the culture. Be a woman of God and be a man of God. God bless.